Thank you for joining me here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. This podcast is alongside the Hangers Eat Podcast, the Helicopter Podcast, and the Vertical MRO Podcast. You can find this and all the other podcasts at verticalhelicast.com. Now, a quick shout out to our sponsors for this episode, Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. You can check them out at breeze-eastern.com. And the Real ResQ Store. Get all your swag to support this podcast at therealresqstore.com. Now, coming up next, we've got two guys that were instrumental in the rescue efforts in Western North Carolina after the devastation from Hurricane Helene. Please welcome our next two guests and their stories, Mr. Matt McSwain and Andy Petree. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. Man, I am stoked to be here right now. I totally am. I've got two guys with me that have done some amazing work in Western North Carolina, really volunteering your own time to go out, and we're about to get some stories from you. But if you don't mind, Matt, please introduce yourself.
My name is Matt McSwain, and Director of Helo Operations for Operation Helo.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm Andy Petree. I'm just a private aircraft owner. I own an R-44. And just, donated my ship and my time for the mission. And we blessed a lot of people up there. And probably I was blessed as much as anybody else in this whole operation. It was amazing work.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you were personally blessed from all this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to get into this with you guys. All right. So let me start with the first question is, you guys, we have this major storm that hits North Carolina and just comes up through the states and just, crush it. And what I think people don't really understand about it is that there was actually a low front that was over the area dumping a ton of rain before the hurricane even got up there. So you guys already had somewhere, off the top of my head, it's like 18 to 20 inches of rain somewhere in that.
I can't.
Yeah, it was a lot of rain. I know we had some before the storm, and then it was just kept coming.
Yeah. So when the storm hit, it was like downpour, and that's where a lot of the devastation happened, which was tough. So from that, once the storm started to lead and subside and people could start getting out there, that's when everybody was like, wow, we need to go out there and help. So let me start with you, Matt. How did you get involved in this?
So a good friend of mine, Doug Jackson out of Texas, owns he was a founder of an organization, a nonprofit called Operation Airdrop. And what they did over the past, since 2017, they did 14 hurricanes, tropical storms, where they've flown in supplies to areas that's massively needed across the areas that were hit by hurricanes, tropical storms, stuff like that. He called me and he said, "Hey, Matt, we heard it was pretty bad up there. What do you know?" I said, I don't really know, and I didn't. I hadn't really been paying attention, and this was the daybreak of the day, and he had more intel than I did. So I said, you know what? Let me take a quick flight and let me go survey and see what's going on. So I did, and it was a lot, like a lot. It was devastating, and so I called him. I said, Doug, I was like, it's really bad. He said, okay, we're going to shift our efforts from the Florida region up to North Carolina. And I said, okay. So as he's shifting his organization to North Carolina, Concord Airport, I made some calls. I'm like, hey guys, I think this is more of a helicopter mission because there was no airports, right? There was no service. The only Banner Elk was the first airport that we got into, and it was 4 days later. And there was just, there's not a lot of airports up there anyway. So to be able to serve those people, it had to be a helicopter mission. So I kind of did some recon, and the first airport that was closest to the DZ line, I'm calling it, the Catawba River up that way, was Hickory. And we said, okay, to make a fuel run and a mission run, we have fuel, we have power. It's going to have to be based out of Hickory.
Okay.
So I've got a group of guys together Sunday night, two weeks ago, Sunday night, and we met at the Concord Airport, kind of got an action plan. And what we determined was that the fixed wing operation was going to be based out of Concord and Statesville. A friend of mine, Tony Marks, headed that up. And then I said, okay, I'm going to Hickory, and I'll head up the helicopter thing. And I had reached out to Andy and a couple other people. It's like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? And everybody was kind of, doing their own thing. Well, when I got to Hickory, I said, you know what? If we're all going to be doing this, let's kind of centralize it and do it safely. That was my biggest thing. We got all these helicopters, need to do it safe. So,
and real quick,
yeah,
all civilian helicopters.
All civilian, yeah.
There was no military that had responded at that moment in time.
I can't speak on whether the military had responded. I don't know what they were doing at that time.
Okay, but on Hickory, it was all civilian.
No, there was. I'll get into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah. So when I reached out to a bunch of friends of mine, including Andy, and I said, "Hey, man, look, I will pay for fuel if y'all just come." I was expecting, 5-6 helicopters, right? All my buddies, right? Like me. And the next morning when we got to the Hickory Airport, there was over 30 helicopters. And I'm like, oh no, I'm paying for fuel for 30 helicopters. I'd been off more like two.
Son of a.
Yeah. So we quickly realized that it needed to be its own entity. We had people wanting to donate money. We were not a nonprofit, but we needed to take money to help offset the fuel, and it just all snowballed. So that's how I got involved. We stood up the operations. We had people on the back side of things forming a nonprofit quickly. So we became our own entity, operationhelo.org. And man, this thing I tell people I lit the fuse and managed the shrapnel. I mean, it
Wow.
took, but to answer your question, we had, to my count, 103 different helicopters,
Holy shit.
230 something pilots registered. And we flew about 400 missions per day. We inserted 523 Starlinks into fire departments in different municipalities to form the largest Starlink network in the United States. We rescued over 400 people. Yeah, man, it was thanks to people like Andy and those guys. But we have to go back to the question you asked. We had military helicopters flying in, asking us how they could help.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. And so we had supplies. We would load up Chinooks. And Andy can talk about his missions and his profiles. But to go back to your question, there was some military assets. They were there. They used our intel, our information. But none of this, and again, Andy can talk about this, but our mission profile could not have been done without Robinson helicopters.
Wow.
Because the big birds could not get into, and again, Andy can talk about this, about the places that we had to get into. You can't get big birds in. So the Robinson helicopter platform was instrumental in making this happen, and it's the largest private helicopter faction that has ever been done. And so, yeah, so I'm sure he can allude to a lot more.
Oh my God. Well, man, I appreciate the beginning of this. Way to open that.
Yeah. No problem.
400 plus lives.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, man. I'm bringing it to you. All right. So let me bring you back to the first question. How did you even get involved?
Okay. So first off, Matt is very humble in what he described his efforts, because this is a pop-up operation that just sprung up out of nothing.
Right.
And you couldn't believe how organized it was. I mean, he had command of everybody and everything that was going on, and everybody felt like they, we had direction. We had leadership, real leadership out of Matt and his group, man. It was, like I said, I'll tell you how I got involved. I was getting ready to get on a cruise ship. Okay. This thing happened, and I was already, my wife and I were just driving down. I got a place down in Daytona. We were going to go down and get on the cruise ship on Sunday, and all this thing hit, and we're like, oh, and finally I was just like, I told her, I said, I can't go. I just can't. I mean, I've got an asset that can help.
Yeah.
Then, didn't know how, but then talked to Matt when David Clark's another good friend of mine who owns a bigger bird. But I drove back on Sunday. So Monday morning I hit the ground running, and I couldn't believe how many helicopters were there and how this thing had already, before I could get there, I had to make my first mission was to help my son. He was displaced by the storm up in Hendersonville. So
okay.
I have a house there, and I was going to let him live there. So I went up to make sure he had what he needed, brought some supplies, and the house had a generator, so they were okay. I got them squared away. As soon as I got them squared away, I called Matt. Hey, what do you need? He said, just get in here. We got cards stacked up mission stacked up everywhere. So
wow.
You just get in there and you get a mission card. They had a desk set up for it. They create a mission. You get it. You go out. The good thing is we didn't have to worry about fuel. They were fueling our helicopters as soon as we landed. We didn't have to worry about that. All we had to do was just get the mission, get the supplies they needed, whether it was insulin, whether it was food, water. Initially, it was just food and water.
Yeah, yeah. Because the water system got smoked.
Oh,
and
let me tell you something.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I couldn't believe it. I went to some of these first places. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it was bad. Like,
okay.
Worse.
Don't get into that too yet.
No, I'm telling you, it's just so bad that these people really needed it. And then you just realize what we're doing was super important.
So the only reason I don't want you to get into it yet is because I get really excited about it. I
won't go into it, but we're talking about the military presence too.
Okay.
We did see some military. I'm out there in the field. I saw military aircraft. They were
awesome.
there. I'm not won't say they're not there.
Yeah.
They were not equipped to do what we were doing. Like they couldn't go anywhere where we were, like where the little helicopters were going.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going in spots that, I never wanted to fly those kind of missions. Never wanted to land in them kind of places. But I did 11 straight days of it.
Dang, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to come back for some stories because I do want to hear some stories. But
oh, yeah.
All right, so Matt, let me come back to you. So you're boots on the ground, and now you've created an ultimate ops center for 30 plus helicopters, small aircrafts that are coming in. They can go into areas that nobody else can get to. And you know what? I'm gonna throw out some things that I saw personally online, and please correct me if I'm wrong with any of it. But some of the areas that were out there, it was either you're hiking in or you're taking a horse or a helicopter.
Yeah, so they actually had mule trains. Once we delivered supplies into some of the areas, they actually had mule trains that was taking the medical supplies up the mountain. So once we would get it to an LZ. We forged over 400 new LZs, and we can get more into the gridding system. But our geo mapping system, grid system, was second to none. It was first class. We had the military tapped into our system. We gave them access to be able to run mission profiles off of what we had already ran routes into, and already we designated LZs, and so they would use that information to if they could get a big bird in, they would, to get supplies in, which we were giving them supplies to get in. But yeah, so the areas at which the people were hiking in were even areas that you couldn't get to. Like, and again, Andy can tell you, we got to places. Here's what a lot of people's got to understand: that the areas that we were at, these communities don't even. They're not even communities. They might have a post office, or they might have a general store with some mailboxes in it. Like, they follow the creeks and they follow the rivers, and there's one road in and one road out, and they usually cross with a bridge.
Yeah.
All of those bridges were gone, and all of the roads were gone. All of the railroads were gone. So we went to one place that it was Bent Creek. That had
some called Bent Creek. We were actually going to another location to take some supplies, and Matt, one mission, he rode with me, and he said, we got to land there, because so we did.
Yeah.
They needed it.
Well, they had across the river, they had a rope and a kayak, and they were putting supplies in the kayak and roping it across to get
where
supplies.
The bridge was blown out to the other people.
To the other people, because you couldn't transverse across the river. It was too swift. Wow. So, and you couldn't get a helicopter over there. So the only way to get supplies was to put it in his kayak and shimmy it across. Yeah, I mean, and it was like areas like that everywhere. It wasn't
everywhere. This is not just one place. This is so common. Widespread. You cannot believe it.
That was common. Yeah, it's nuts.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Dang. All right. So that's one incident. I keep going.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah. So what was really unique about this pop-up thing that happened was, all these things kept happening. We recognized, okay, we're fixing to get a lot of people. All right, let me back up. All the military presence that we had a whole tactical operations division. We had a whole area of the airport that we dedicated to tactical operations. These guys was 82nd Airborne, Green Beret, Marine Recon. All these people started showing up, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? How does this happen? And they're like, we all took leave. We all know, that there's a need. There's not people here, so we all took off. And on voluntary basis, we're here. What can we do to help? So what we did is we took each one of the, and you said 30. That was the first day.
Oh, we had 65 one day.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Operate. Yeah. So what they would do is they say, hey, we want to go boots on the ground. How do we get there? So what we did is we paired up a pilot with what we deemed crew chief, and that crew chief was a special operator. It was a black ops guy or something. And we would put him in. The helicopter would go in, put these people on the ground. We'd leave them majority of the time, and they would do a sweep of the neighborhood, bring back the people to the LZ. And as they're pumping in supplies, if somebody needed to get out, they would take them back.
And they were calling in missions too. They would say, okay, hey, we do need somebody needs some help over here. So
Right.
that would create a mission card. Somebody else would be going out. They were generating those on the ground.
So we recognized very on that we needed a triage center because these people were in various states of all kind of medical conditions. So across the way, we cleared out an FBO, and we just commandeered it, took it over. I mean, this whole airport, God bless them people at
they were
Hickory
so
Airport.
gracious.
They were just,
we took it over.
We said, this is our place. Let's, sorry. And so
That's awesome.
So we had a group of, it was a group working out that ran nursing homes. We tapped them on the shoulder and said, hey, we need a triage center. So we cleared out this FBO. They stood up an entire hospital from when you walked in, when you come off of the helicopter into the processing center, they had triage to hospice. I mean, we had a baby delivered all the way to, unfortunately, somebody dying. So, I mean, it was from A to Z. So we knew early on that we needed a way to process those people. And so we had an on-site hospital.
Holy smoke.
Yeah.
Where did the people come from for the hospital side or the medical side? Was it
all volunteers?
No kidding.
Yeah, everybody volunteered from. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you where everybody come from. I don't know. We had people. I mean, Oregon was the furthest away I knew somebody flew in with a helicopter.
Wyoming,
Montana.
Yes.
We
Oh
had
my
Texas.
gosh.
we had Hueys. We had private Blackhawks, private Hueys, private. It's insane the people that we had, and the volunteer network as well. I mean, people would we had a call center coming in, one for hotline from, like, hey, I need y'all to come get me. I need these supplies. And another volunteer hotline. Hey, here's our credentials. Where to plug us in. So,
wow. Man, you know what? I'm actually upset that I was not out here. And I'm going to shout out to my dad because my dad lives in Charlotte, and he went actually up to Henderson area and was like setting people up with power and stuff, just generators and clearing roads. I mean, it was amazing. And that's what I love about this story is it's like my background is that of a rescueman. I'm on call, on duty. Everybody I won't say everybody, but the majority of the people that came up were volunteers.
Yeah.
everybody was.
Just
Every
Everybody.
single person. Matter of
Everybody.
fact, somebody
Wanted to
got up and spoke at one of the briefings, the debriefs, I think at the end of the day, and they were talking about, so a lot of you are not being paid to do all that. Everybody turned around and said, nobody gets paid on this.
Oh, wait a minute. I correct you. There was two people in the room that was paid to be there, and that was the FAA officials.
Oh, yeah, the FAA guy.
Yeah, the FAA
And they did a
officials,
great job, too,
The FAA,
Yes.
big shout out to the FAA.
Yes.
They worked with us.
They kept us safe. They really helped. They didn't get in the way of anything. All they did was help us be better, safer, better procedures, and it worked flawless.
That's the one thing that I think I'm most proud of is all of our pilots' ability to do stuff safely. We flew over 4,000 missions, and I don't have the exact number, with 0 accidents or incidents.
that's
And if
insane.
you would see
That's
where
crazy.
we were,
Yeah.
I still can. And I'm gonna tell you, there's only one reason for that. It says God's hand was on this
Yep.
mission.
Can
I'm
I get
telling
an
you.
amen on that one?
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
telling
gosh.
you,
Yeah.
because none of that should have been done safely. Like I said, I don't choose to fly that way. I've got probably 4,000 hours in these things, but I would never choose to do these. But then you just do it. It's necessary. You do it. And I mean, you got a helicopter above you. You got one flying down the valley. You're coming into this place that's never had a skid touch it, and you're hoping you got enough room on the trees. I'm telling you, man, it was sketchy.
And
a lot of the stuff was sketchy.
the roads you're landing on have washout under them.
Yeah, you don't know. You
don't
got to
know.
make sure you're not
Yeah.
landing on a part of that road that's
Yeah.
just going to break off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Gosh, I didn't even think
so
of
what
that.
we'll do, we come down the river and you kind of look under. You can kind of see under it,
Yeah.
and then you see a place that's pretty beefy, and then you just go up and land on that.
Wow.
It was crazy stuff, man. And I'm telling you, God's hand was on that mission. That's
Yep.
the only reason everybody was safe, and we got to give him all the credit.
Yep.
You know what? I appreciate that, and I like that. I'll give him mad credit for that. It's actually one of the things I say on this podcast all the time. It's those in distress are praying for a miracle, and they get us.
Mm-hmm.
And this time they got God's people. Like, because it was not the people on duty, it was you guys. And you guys out helping.
And we've talked about this. Helicopter pilots in general have to have an ego, right? I mean, it's they're doing something that 0.0001% of the world don't do. So you have to have some kind of ego about you to be a helicopter pilot. There was not one time one person during this whole operation beat their chest, was egotistical, was better than anybody. It was the most seamless, same page piloting. It didn't matter if those guys had 40 hours in a Robinson or 4,000 in a Robinson. Everybody worked
helping
hand
each
in
other.
hand.
So
I
humble.
mean, it was just
Wow.
that nobody MF'd nobody. It was perfect, man.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
To have that many flights and that many missions, to be running that many helicopters and not having this incident and everybody gets along.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I know. Trust me.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I'm changed over it.
Yeah.
I'll not be the same person after this.
Yeah.
It's something I've never experienced. And like I said when we started, we blessed a lot of lives, but I don't know that anybody was blessed more than I was over this. And just seeing that, the humans helping humans, no matter who you are, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
We were just all in this to help everybody. And it was amazing.
Well,
Andy got and I hope you can put a clip in your podcast. Is this YouTube?
it will be.
Yeah. So I hope you're able to put Andy's clip in. And Andy, tell them about.
Oh, you're talking about Miss Martha.
Yeah.
So Miss Martha,
Yeah.
This is
we're
a story. I like the story.
yeah.
Let's go.
Okay,
Now we're getting into stories.
So we were delivering some stuff. I had this a guy from Hendrick, Chris Maroc, I believe is how you say his last name, flying with me, and we were dropping a doctor off at one location and taking some medical supplies to another. And I'm getting this text message. My wife texts me a lot while I'm flying, just for whatever. Well, you're in these gorgeous mountains up here, and you're flying around. So I'm obviously I'm not going to text when I'm doing that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just happened to look at my watch. It kept buzzing, so I look at my watch, and it says, "Please acknowledge text." And I go, "Okay, I'll just call her because I got Bluetooth." So I call her on the phone. I said, "Look, I can't text while I'm flying here, but what you got?" And she said, she had this lady that she had seen a post, and it happened to be from a friend of hers that had not been heard from in 6 days. I said, "Okay, we want to help all those people, but make sure, we had people in Matt's organization to vet these to make sure we're not sending
Nice.
aircraft up there for somebody that had already been saved." I said, "So let's make sure it's real. If it is, I'm dropping some supplies over here about 11 miles from that location that she gave me. Then we'll go by and check on it." So she did. She said it's real. She just got off the phone with the family or the people that are connected to the family. So we land and we pull into this little valley. It was largely unaffected by the flood. It's like one of the weird places, that you would be going, right? We're going down in these, where all these roads are washed out and people losing their houses and just, got nothing. This is in a valley that's just cut off because all this is around that. And no power, no nothing, right? And this is an 80-year-old lady named Martha, hadn't seen a human in 6 days. So we start landing in there, and I said, "Okay, make sure that they're happy to see us while I'm focused on where I'm landing, right in their front yard." And I get out of the helicopter and I start walking up there, and she's got her hands on her heart, and she is bawling. And I get up there, and and by the time I get there, heck, I'm crying,
Awesome.
And I go, and I said, "We're here," and Chris was saying, "We're here for you, Martha. We're here." And she said she hadn't heard from anybody. She didn't even know what really happened. Like, she didn't even understand what had happened in that area.
Oh,
And all this
wow.
flooding devastation. She hadn't had any, cut off completely. So we had some supplies with us. We left them with her. And I said, "I'm coming right back. We're going to get you some stuff." And she's like, "Why did you come? Who sent you?" And I just looked at her and I said, "God sent me." I mean, I'll get back with you on who he used to do it, but that's how I got here. And so,
Dude, I'm about to start crying
oh,
right
I'm
now.
telling
Man.
you, and I've told her, I went back up there and I did have the details on how it came, and it's personal, so I'm not going to get into it here. But
Yep.
I kind of told her how it all happened through the channels, and she starts crying again. I said, "Martha, I've cried too much over this. I can't do it anymore." But I had brought her some warm weather stuff. She still didn't have her power back yet, and she had a little generator, and she was good. Oh, and so we made a picture. She went, "I want your picture. I want your picture before you leave." So we get Chris and I and her, and we take this selfie. And she doesn't have a cell phone. She doesn't even have a computer. It's like, how are we going to give it to her, right?
Yeah.
So this is when we first found her. So overnight, Chris goes and has that picture printed and framed. And we took all the stuff back to her that she needed, that she gave us a list of on Sunday, the next day. And it was crying again. Here we go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was an amazing story. That was that was just one of many that we were lucky enough to document. There were so many of them that you know, in the first part of this, I mean, you know, Matt, you know how chaotic it was.
Yeah.
You didn't even think about like, oh, grab your phone. You know,
Right,
you're just
right,
trying
right,
to get
right.
this. You know, this. I landed and gave guy. You know, as soon as I landed, he says, "Do you have any water?" And I was like, "Yes." I want to hand it to him. Like he didn't even have a bottle of water yet.
Wow.
And so he was hungry, and I said, "I'm coming back." I went. You know, we'll get some more stuff and we'll get it back up here. It was a really remote location. That was over in close to that Bent Creek area we were talking about.
Yep.
And so I went back, got some stuff, and I was getting ready to walk out of the FBO with all these, you know, get all the stuff in the helicopter. We had it stacked to the gill. And somebody was walking in with a bunch of hot sandwiches for the pilots. And I said, "What are you doing with those?" She said, "You want them?" I said, "I need them." I grabbed one bag of them and took them up there to Jeff was his name. It's Jeff and Samantha that were up there in this Burnsville area. And I landed back and I said, your Uber Eats is here. And he comes along and he said, "Well, I'll tell you what, you're a man of your word. You said he's coming back." He did. So I think I've been to that location probably 4 or 5 times. I took some warm weather stuff up there just the other day. But
so is that going back to resupply them with multiple times?
Because you can't, like with our little helicopters, you can't get enough stuff to really sustain them. They had about 12 people on this little stretch of this road that was completely cut off by the bridge being out. Their road was so undermined, you could only find one little spot to land. And so I just knew they needed stuff. And so when I left, I said, "Look, our operation's kind of winding down." This was just the other day.
Yep.
Here's my cell phone. I don't care what you need. You call it. If you need it, I'll bring it back up here. So
damn, man.
They hadn't called me yet, but
But
so I think they got an infrastructure now with 4-wheelers and got the roads kind of open enough passable.
Good.
So they got some access. But I told them, "You need something, call me."
Oh my gosh. Man, you're the man, dude.
Well, they're not just me. I'm telling you, like you said, there were 65 helicopters out of there one day. Every single one of these guys were doing what I'm talking about. Every one of them using their own ships, their own time. Coming from Montana. I came from Lake Norman. It was easy for me.
Yeah.
These guys are coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing what they did, and just to see it all. I mean, I'd come back some of these nights and I would just say, "I'd need a minute, man." I was just like, it was just wash over you. Like,
you know, some of the takeaway that I had that was not expected was, you know, me and Andy went to one place and landed, and this guy was, as we were walking up, his house had been flooded. And he was literally taking everything out of his house. I mean, mattresses and clothes, emptying his entire his whole life, right? Yeah. And we walk up and we're like, "Hey, man, are you okay?" He's like, "Man, I'm great.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm alive." And that's what he kept saying. He kept saying, "I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm good. I'm good." I mean, his
that's the mentality of most of those people up there.
Yeah, it's like
they're like, we're okay. We just need, and we'll take anything you do. They're tough, man.
And they really didn't know anything. Like they had no idea how
widespread it was.
Yes, how bad it is. And we have this theory that, you know, there's a huge second wave coming, but it's now passable, right? So the people that are not able to get out during our time span that we were there, they're going to realize we're not getting power for a year. We're not getting water for a year.
It'll be 6 months.
It's not that the power's out. There is no power grid.
There's no structure.
There is no infrastructure.
No. I mean, the railroad system up there is, in my lifetime, will never be fixed.
No.
They're gone.
They're washed away on the side of the river. I mean, you couldn't put
one.
Yeah, there's just no. God. And so, you know, another interesting story that I got told by a pilot and a friend of yours, you know, he said, "I found a community. There was 16 people that had been completely cut off with everybody." And he said, "I was the first one in." And he said this lady was they had pinpointed her to be, you know, hey, she's got to go with her 2 dogs. So he said, I get the lady and the 2 dogs in the back. And she said she's just bawling, crying. And he's like, "What?" You know, they're fixing to take off. I was like, "What's wrong?" She says, I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford to pay for this. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Nobody up here can pay for this." And he says, "You know, I'm bawling." She's like, "Look, you know, you're not going to pay for this, you know." But they had no idea. I mean, just imagine being cut off, and then all these helicopters start coming in for you. I mean, you know, it's
and then the next thought of like, "Oh my God, I can't pay for a helicopter ride right now."
Yeah.
And then to hear it, and so He has told me that story.
Yeah.
I love that story because it's one of the things he actually mentioned about probably the same thing for you. Like, hey, I got to stop crying. I got to go fly.
I know, right?
So-
I can't be crying and flying at the same time.
It's not going to work.
So I got a funny story.
I like it.
All right, so here's the funny story. So I go over to the hospital. We'd bring a lot. I don't remember what day it was. Fog of war now. I don't remember. I go over to the hospital, and my wife loves golden doodles. We have two. My son has a golden doodle. My wife has a golden doodle. She loves golden doodles. So I go into the hospital over there to ask for something or I think I was getting insulin. And I walk in, and there is a miniature golden doodle, medium golden doodle in the intake area, right? And I'm like, and a nurse had the leash. And I said, oh my God, where did the dog come from? She said, it's a rescue. And I'm like, holy crap. So I grabbed it. I didn't say nothing else. I grabbed the leash from the nurse. I said, I got it. And my wife was working in the war room over there. So I took the leash and I took the dog, and I'd walk in, and my wife goes, oh my God, where did you get the dog? And I said, it's a rescue here. So in my mind, I was like, okay, we've got a new dog. That was what's in my mind, right? We've rescued this dog, right?
But you've taken this lady's dog. I can see it right now.
So
We're rescuing people. He's like, oh, we've rescued a dog.
Oh yes,
I got this.
yes.
I can see this.
So I leave, right? Well, 2 hours later, I come back and my wife is like, "You're an idiot," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "This woman had been rescued, and she turned around and somebody stole her dog." So could you imagine the tragedy of being stranded for days and then getting your dog got stolen?
Did you get the dog back?
She got the dog back. So yeah, so there was
heard that.
Yeah, so there was some comedy in there somewhere. So but
That's hilarious. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
And the realrescuestore.com. Your shop for all your podcast-worthy gear. From comfortable shirts to cozy mugs, we've got everything to showcase your love for your favorite podcast. So what are you waiting for? Head to therealrescuestore.com and let your gear do the talking.
the severity of it, honestly, is something that I hope I never personally ever have to see again in my lifetime. I hope we never have to experience. This is I don't know what the 1 in 1,000 year flood or whatever. I don't know what it is, but to see cars stacked on top of cars, mutilated, tractor trailers,
forklifts washed down the river.
Yes.
Wow.
Houses, if there was houses intact, they had been washed down the river. I mean, it's just, I heard a story, one woman, and this is probably one of the worst ones I personally heard. A lady, she had woke up, she heard a loud noise, and she woke up, and she told her husband, she said, "Hey, wake up, something's wrong." You know, they kept hearing this loud, audible noise. It kept getting louder and louder. And she said, "I got some clothes on." And she said, "I told him, hey, get up and put some clothes on. Something's going on." And she said, out the door of our bedroom, we had a lean-to, like a porch on the backside of our property. And she said, "I walked out our bedroom door onto this lean-to, and I turned around, and the entire house left."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
With her with her husband.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's many stories like that.
There's
that's another one.
Yeah.
The lady was down there, one of these locations we landed, and she was looking for her husband's body, and she'd been out calling his name for days. Same thing. They were trying to get to higher ground when this was happening.
Yeah.
And if you hear people talk about it, it's almost like it's just like flush a commode. It's just like all of a sudden here it comes. And she got up to this little ridge, and they had a rope and a sleeping bag, and she trying to pull him up, and he was gone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
there's so many of those. I mean, it was just.
There's a fire department and a picture.
I've got it right here.
Yeah.
This is one I just pulled it up. This is one of the most resourceful firemen, which all of them are. He's stuck in this building. He's the only one in this firehouse. That water came all the way to the top of that mirror.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
He's on top of that truck with no way out. Look at this. he cut a hole in the top of that thing from the inside and got out of there.
No way.
And got up on top.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
at
my
that
gosh.
Egypt Ramsey Town
Angie
fire,
Ramsey, that was a
fire
bad
department.
Angie Ramsey was bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Man, that's resourceful. That's
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
saved his own life right there.
Yeah.
By being,
wow.
I mean, just story after story. And I hope you're able to interview some of these guys and really get some, you know,
the stories are endless. I mean, like I
endless.
said, there's so
Yeah.
many of these pilots that
Yeah.
saw all the, I mean,
Well, I'm starting with you
I
guys.
would
so-
love to
Yeah.
hear some of them too. I know I
Yeah.
experienced. I bet I did 40 missions or
yeah.
so. And
Yeah.
it'd be good to hear some of the other guys' stories.
Yeah.
So out of 40 missions yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I am curious a couple more, but how, because you were boots on the ground
Yeah.
at the ops center. So
Yep.
is that your primary?
That was.
So
yeah.
you went out a couple times
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
in your couple times going out, what stands out to you? What are a couple that might stand out to you?
You know, the big one was the guy like I
Stealing
said,
the dog?
Oh no. You know,
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
you know, the one that sticks out to me the most was the one we walked up, me and Andy, and the guy was just so happy to be alive, you know, and that one was big. We were the first ones into Banner Elk Airport, and the guys they're like, what has happened? You know, like they didn't.
wow.
And Banner Elk is an influential
Yeah,
community.
it's a really nice, community.
yeah, really,
Big,
and-
nice homes,
and
stuff.
they were cut off from the world, and they're like, what's going on? You know, like what is happening? Because they had no intel, no nothing. In being the first ones in there, they're like, you know, how bad is this? You know, and
We haven't talked about Chimney Rock much.
oh my
And
gosh,
the reason is
Yep.
Chimney Rock's gone.
yeah,
Yes.
We flew
The
some
whole
missions
town.
up in there, but
Yeah.
at some point, I mean, there was nobody to help. I mean, everybody, the
Yeah.
thing was gone.
yeah,
Like it was completely gone. There were some, I guess there's some of those streams that feed that river. I did make some missions up in there and land on some little spots. That helped me. Bat Cave.
Bat
and
Cave,
I guess
yeah.
they called it Black Mountain maybe up there somewhere too.
Okay.
But,
I'm just going to go with that
Yeah.
and say yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know it well enough. Like I know Asheville area, I know Henderson and a few other like surround towns, including the Rock, the one you just said, the
Chimney Rock.
Chimney Rock. Like I
Chimney
know
Rock.
that
But
because I
just
saw a
see
lot
how
of that.
widespread that is. Chimney
Yeah.
Rock is all the way down below Asheville,
Yeah.
and all these other ones are up north of that, like Burnsville and all. This thing was very widespread all over the mountains, like
Well, and we haven't even crossed into what happened in Kentucky either. This
Kentucky,
is just
Tennessee,
Western,
right, yeah.
This is just Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
So, all right. Sorry, I cut you off with some
No,
of your
no,
stories. Like,
no. The most impactful one I think will stick with me is the guy. Even though it was complete devastation, his life will never be the same. It changed in an instant, and he was just so thankful to be alive.
That's
You know?
awesome.
Yeah, it is. You know, we can go on and on and on. You know, and the power of God just to put us in the right places. And you know, we did have some dry holes. We tried to vet them as much as we could, but for the most part, man, you know, the people that needed insulin and oxygen and the resupply, you know, if these volunteer guys had not selflessly dedicated their time, the people would be dead.
Wow.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about, hey, we taking somebody their insulin, we're taking somebody oxygen. If we did not, they would die.
Right.
And we had continued missions time after time after time. And these, you know, I hope that when this is all said and done, we have an infrastructure that if this ever happens again, that this is not a need, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So who knew that this was going to happen? And if this was going to happen, how big of an impact it was going to make? The supplies you need. I mean, I can go home today and I got enough food to make it 2 days, but if somebody trapped me in my house, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And then you're dependent on somebody showing up days later to bring you more.
with no communication.
With no communication.
Right. With a
Just
hope
showing up.
and a prayer.
Yeah. And their prayer.
Dear
Think-
God, please send somebody.
Think
I
how
need
many
help.
prayers were answered.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I
so
love
many.
it.
Think how
So
many prayers
I
were
saw
You
them.
give
I
me
saw
chills,
them.
man.
Yeah.
You give me chills.
I hugged them.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I saw them. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to take away from me is how this, you know, this was needed, and it had to happen now.
Yeah.
Like it
Right.
needed to happen when it happened. Like you couldn't think about it. You couldn't gear up some response. And this is no knock on the government or whoever that provides these kind of reliefs, but these people needed help
Immediately.
right away, and we
Right.
did
Yeah.
it. We as a group, and I, you know, just somehow we dove in there when it was needed. And I kind of liken it to putting the fire out. We came in there and put the fire out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was raging fire, and we put it out pretty quick, and I
Yeah,
feel good
buddy.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So with all of your missions that you flew, you gave us a couple. Are there any more that stand out to you?
Yeah, there's so many. There's one lady I landed up there in Batcave, and I was trying to find somebody else. It was a special needs child that needed to be evacuated, and, and a mom. And they give me this address. So what you do? You got this little card, this little mission card, and you got an address. You put a pin in your, your navigation stuff, and you're like, man, it's right. Man, it's right there. I don't even see the road. You're trying to find a place. I'm flying around just looking for anything close enough to land. And I just wouldn't accept failure, right? I don't know how many. I bet there wasn't very many, though, that came back and said I couldn't get into these spots. I don't know how many it was.
I don't remember.
I'm telling you, I don't remember hardly.
I don't either.
Any.
I don't
like,
either.
I'm not giving up.
That might be a half a mile one way, half a mile other.
So
but
I'm finding a way to complete this
there.
mission.
Yes.
And so I'm flying around, and I see this lady waving, and she's trying to get, and I think, okay, there she is. And so that's got the worst spot. And there's wires, and there's, it's everything. And I found this little intersection right by her, and I got down in there, and I mean, literally, my rotor blades are not that far off the trees on both sides. I get down in there, and she comes up there, and she's crying, and she's like, hadn't seen anybody, and it wasn't her I was looking for. And I said, okay. So we found somebody to go on foot to find because I had the address. They went up to get the dad. And while I'm there, she was, she had dogs and she needed to get them out. And I said, at that point, I didn't feel good about having 3 dogs in the helicopter coming. I didn't know what they'd do. I said, we'll send somebody back. She was fine. She said, so I gave her peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My wife made these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every morning. She would make them up, put them in little sandwich bags, and then fill the loaf back up. So I had a brick of these things, right?
Oh my!
And so I gave her a brick of those. I handed those things out everywhere. Everybody loves
I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Who doesn't?
I mean, that's like the greatest food ever.
Yeah.
But she was one. She was the first one, I guess, that made me cry. So that's why I remember her so much. But those people don't want to leave.
No,
they're not leaving. Man.
They don't want to leave.
They are not leaving.
They're sustainable. And to add, not only did we have mission cards for stuff, you would fly over, and Andy found one that was, SOS.
Oh yeah,
in a driveway.
That was one of the first ones. My son was flying with me as a crew chief, and we were trying to find yet another address, and we couldn't find. And we're looking, and then he says, well, we got to land there. I said, why? He says, it says SOS.
Yeah.
I said, all right.
So I saw a lot. I don't mean to cut you off because I want to hear that, but I did see a lot of that online, especially through social media. Like help was written on the road, or SOS, or
plenty
land
of that.
here. Like
plenty of that on the roof. Spray painted on the roof.
Anything they could.
It helped a lot.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that. I mean, if you're ever in that situation, need help, put it. If helicopters are flying, put it out there.
Yeah.
We are looking for that.
Yes.
Constantly looking for people waving.
Yes.
Not just like hello. If you're waving, we're landing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you see the SOS?
Yeah. So we see the SOS, and we just, we land there, and I think that might have been the guy, Jeff, that had not had, he needed water like now. He was thirsty.
Yeah.
So he was, I think that was him. And,
wow.
And then there was help road on the road just before that. So I said, we got to fly. So I flew over there, and there was another helicopter on the ground.
Oh,
I
that's
flew
awesome.
over it, yeah. So then we'd see this, and we know we got to get back and resupply and get back up here to these people, and so we did a lot of that.
I do want to add that our volunteer network, we talked a lot about the military, the operation side that we had. I can't even begin to tell you the brain power of, we had this guy named Tommy, and Tommy. Yeah, I nicknamed him Radar. He said, "If you call me Radar one more time, I'm gonna quit." So he was one of the most instrumental technical guys. I mean,
was he the guy that was setting up that map? And
yes,
oh, he was amazing.
Yes.
I was like, where'd they find these? This is. I took pictures of these.
Anything
this that we just.
Yeah, anything that we wanted. Tommy, can you do this? He's like Inspector Gadget. Yeah, okay.
He grabs my phone and he puts that map on my phone.
Yes.
So I had it in my helicopter.
Yeah. So
but speaking of that, the whole Starlink thing was amazing.
Yes.
Elon Musk doesn't get enough credit for what we did there.
Yeah.
We delivered
Donald
those
Trump
everywhere.
Ivanka personally delivered them in her jet.
What?
Yes. Yes. We reached out.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's come back to that. I did not know that.
Yes.
But let's. I keep going with your guy Radar, and I shouldn't even call him Radar. He's gonna get mad at me.
So no, he can't quit now. So he's Radar. So we reached out, and here is hang on, I'll find the picture while we're talking. So Radar was a Black Ops guy, and he just showed up one day, and we're like, what? Hey,
I wondered how you got him.
Yeah, I don't know how we got him, but he showed up one day and was like, "Hey man, I can help you set some stuff up." And we're like, "Okay, let's do it." Like, what are you gonna do? He says, "I got this." And we come back and we had a screen that size,
like
That,
Yeah, big-
4
big
feet
screen
by
set
3
up.
feet.
and it was a geo-gridding system that the military uses that he's like, hey, this is
You
going to
create a
cost
map
us.
from
Yeah.
it.
And I was like, okay, get us a subscription. And so we did. And the military actually pulled from us. They walked in. It's like, hey, we heard you had this system. Can we tap into it? And we're like, okay. And so Samaritan's Purse did. The military, all these people started using our maps, but we were kind of like the central data point for everything that had been touched. The Starlink network, the helicopters, we could track where you were, when you were. I mean, we have 40 squawk codes, which Katrina.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
yeah,
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will have this online. You guys, you all see it right there.
yeah. It's amazing, man. But
Wow.
now we have that, right? So now it's not fly by night. So now that we'll
have that going in.
Yeah. So I tell everybody we had home field advantage, which we did. The reason this mission was so successful outside of the fact of our volunteer network was we had home field advantage. We could call anybody at any time and get anything we wanted instantly. Through our NASCAR connections and throughout our aviation connections, we have a lot of people that are selflessly willing to give anything. It's unbelievable. There's nothing, and again, this comes from God. There's nothing that we needed or wanted that did not happen instantly.
Oh,
But when we get to the
love it.
next mission, we're not going to have home field advantage, right? So
Okay.
so we're going to be behind the power curve. So what we want to do is we got a command center that we got today. It just showed up. We're going to make it our ops center, and when we show up, we're going to cut the light switch on and go to work. There is no, well, should we do this or should that? This is what we're doing, and it's going to be accessible to the county and to the state, and we're going to make the state of the art command center for natural disasters that is going to be top tier, second to none. And like Andy alluded to, it's not not going to have to cross the T and dot the I. We're going to have to put the key in ignition, crank
Turn
it,
it
and
on.
go.
yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. All right, so now yes, Elon Musk did a lot, and he was trying to set up, and I don't know all the details, so I'm not even going to try to speculate on any of it. But I know he was trying to push to get the Starlink system out there to get everybody back
did.
up online.
Yep.
I did not know Ivana Trump came out and
She brought a whole load in her, airplane.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It was 300 of them.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I've delivered, I think, over 30 of
Yeah.
them myself, like to the Asheville Police Department that we gave them their first ones. They needed, I think I took 8 up there on Monday night. I didn't want to do one of the night missions, but they said they needed them. So here we go. We go up there and we landed on Mission Hospital's pad, and the policeman was standing there, and boy, they were so happy to get those things. And
My God.
it gave them communication out in the field that they didn't have.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So there's Ivanka Trump right there.
Oh, look at that. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Man, good on you guys, man.
No, good on them.
Good
That
on
had nothing to do
them.
with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Yes.
on them, man. I mean, we put the call out, and hey, man, boom, it happened.
Oh, you guys, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Again, and you guys, this is not, I can't emphasize it enough. You're volunteering your time, your time and efforts to go out there and make this happen.
That's the map. I don't see radar right there, but that's our room. It was yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have
You
all
can
these
look at some of
pictures
those,
up.
yeah.
So one of the things
Scrolling through this. This is awesome.
that we should all be proud about is, one morning we're doing all this, and I woke. It was the night that me and Andy come back from the guy cleaning his house out.
That's radar.
And, yeah, there's Radar. Yeah, big shout out to Radar.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Tommy?
Sorry, Tommy. You can't quit now. So
You know how people get their call signs,
yeah,
right?
he's
And it's
well, he
whether you
has.
like it or not.
He's got a call sign, but Tommy's. I mean, we could not have done what we did without Tommy. I mean, very instrumental. Love him to death. Great guy. Still institutionalized. I mean, he's not been out of the Army long. We'll get him civilianized here good quickly. But one of the things that I think we should all be proud about is the night that we come back, me and Andy, from the guy cleaning his house out. I go to sleep, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I wake my wife up. I said, hey, here's a problem that we got to fix. These people have lost all of their clothes. They're wet. They're saturated.
Or gone.
They're gone. They don't have any clothes.
Yeah.
And I said, it's fixing to get cold. So I said, we need to do a cold weather clothing push. So she said, okay, I agree. Let's go down that road. So that morning, I called some friends of mine, one of our good friends, Tony Marks, who's connected at Elevation Church, which is
Elevation Church.
Yeah, Elevation Church is the largest in our area, right?
Yeah.
And I said they can make an impact right now.
I still attend.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So Tony,
Pastor Stephen, love it.
Yeah. So Tony,
Shout out to Pastor Stephen.
that's right, and Holly. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tony used to work the sound room at Elevation at Lake Norman. So I saw Tony that morning. I was like, Tony, hey man, here's what we got to do. These people are going to need clothes. I said, can you reach out to Elevation and see if we can do a cold weather clothing drive, right?
Yeah.
He said, okay. So picked up the phone. We got the whole team, the staff at Elevation. We say, here's what we're going to do. And this was Saturday morning. And I said, they have church Saturday and Sunday. And I said, what if y'all put it out to your congregation that we need clothing? And they said, okay, we're on board. So I called Samaritan's Purse and I said, hey, look, we can only get so much in on helicopters. Can y'all get it in on ground? They said, yeah, but it has to be new clothing. It's their criteria that it has to be,
Okay.
And so we put it out about lunchtime. Elevation launched the campaign, and we had the largest cold weather clothing drive in the United States.
I couldn't believe it.
Oh, my
one
God.
day, all that stuff, you couldn't even see over this whole area of
What?
people bringing stuff.
It literally shut Amazon down in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because they put a list on Amazon for people to go, and they had 9 church locations, and out of those 9 church locations, people Saturday night and Sunday, they brought clothing to the locations, and Randy Marion gave us panel box trucks to deliver them, and they nonstop would deliver it. So can you imagine?
Oh my.
The Amazon list was like deliver, and boom, meltdown. Yes. It was like 61,000 Amazon items overnighted.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And that stuff's still getting piped in. So
Well, we're getting ready to run some right now.
Yeah.
I've got some in my helicopter. And
That's where you're going. You're fixing to go.
Yeah. So we haven't even said that, but
Yeah.
we as a matter of fact, you and I are leaving right out of here.
Yeah.
We're going to jump on your helicopter
Yeah.
and fly up to Asheville.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
if you keep talking, then we're going to be too late.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So just so everybody knows what you're going, and I know we're fixing to wrap this up. So just so everybody knows what we're doing, OperationHelo.org has some funds and some big donors that have really helped relieve a lot of this stuff. We are in the process now of with Tom Johnson's Camping Center, Camping World, all these other places. We're getting 21, 22, and 23 foot camping trailers, and we're buying those, and we're literally, we've got 15 on the way to the mountains right now, and I'm going to look at 10 as soon as y'all take off. I'm going to look at 10 to try to get those, and then we're also starting, so we're going to do that. We got $1.5 million that we're buying just as soon as they can make them, as soon as they can get them. We're putting those into the mountains, and we're going to hand people a title and say, this is yours.
Wow.
So
gosh.
When you build your home, you can sell this and it'll have a little bit of money. So we're doing that, and then we're starting a funeral fund for people that
Very cool.
that don't have the means to bury their immediate family. We're going to work with the local funeral homes up there around here to try to help relieve some of that stress.
Man, you guys have gone so far above and beyond.
Nah, it's everybody, man.
But this is incredible. Like I said, I mean, it's blowing me away. I cannot thank you guys for coming on enough and just sharing what you guys have done. And man, I wish I could be here even more to do it, to be more a part of it.
We appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
You're doing your part.
Yeah.
Getting it out.
Happy to do so.
Yeah.
Happy to do so.
Now you get to go do some more.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, unless you have anything else that you want to share, we'll close out. But
that's it. Everybody just keep praying, man. The people up there need it.
okay.
Yep.
Done. That's good advice.
All right.
Right on. Well, thank you guys. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Breeze Eastern. For over 80 years, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured battle-proven aerial rescue hoists, winches, and cargo hooks. Each product is carefully crafted to support demanding mission scenarios, ensuring the job gets done safely and efficiently. Visit them today at www.breeze-eastern.com.
And the Real ResQ Store.com. Your shop for all your podcast-worthy gear. From comfortable shirts to cozy mugs, we've got everything to showcase your love for your favorite podcast. So what are you waiting for? Head to the realrescuestore.com and let your gear do the talking. Action.
Good morning. Today is October 14th. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is the 8th and final cross to Guild from St. Peter's Catholic Church. My dad and my Uncle Richie did these crosses approximately 60 years ago. 35 years ago, my brother Brian and I restored these crosses. And now today, we're about to restore them again. My son Jason's filming this. My oldest grandchild Haley is next to me. And we will be putting the size on and then gilding in approximately 2 hours.
And as a future gold leafer, I'm happy to be here.